This is Alex Jones for InfoWarsLife.com. The latest in preparedness is now here. An electrically stabilized colloidal silver solution that can be added to both your home cabinet and preparedness pack alike. Concentrated to 30 parts per million in what has been dubbed the survival silver solution. The new InfoWars Life Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver is the answer for you and your family. And it's entirely free of toxic artificial additives that are loaded into many products. The InfoWars Life Silver Bullet Silver is so powerful that it is concentrated into a 2-ounce bottle and is not recommended for extended continual use. This is not a low-grade formula. We are working with one of the top laboratory manufacturers in the United States to bring you the best form of colloidal silver using electrical processes within a base of deionized water for your preparedness storage or your home kitchen. Purchase your bottle of InfoWarsLife.com Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver today and find other amazing supplements at InfoWarsLife.com.
This is Scottish John for Infowars.com. I know that most of you here in this commercial already know about the New World Order, eugenics, and all the other issues covered here at Infowars. The question is, do your friends and family know? If not, then I want to know why. Oh, I know it's tough to talk about this with some people. They might call you names, or they just want to talk about sports or soap operas. I say, so what? There's a battle going on out there right now. The ammunition is information, and the soldiers are you. It's time to transform your game from passive listener to active participant. We from Scotland have had our skin in this game for the greater part of the last 1,000 years, and I'm still fighting. If we don't all stand up right now, we're going to lose everything. The InfoWar is worldwide. Tell your friends about InfoWars and let them know that InfoWars doesn't print bull. It's real journalism and news backed up by documented fact. Step up and take your friends and family to Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.tv and PlanetInfowars.com. The truth will set them free.
From the water table to our soils to the atmosphere itself, our world is becoming more and more toxic each and every day. But it's not just the air outside that's toxic. Indoor air has been shown to have 2 to 5 times higher concentrations of pollutants than even outdoor air. And most Americans spend 90% of their time inside using toxic chemicals within their homes. There are more than 42 million smokers in the United States. Well over 1,000 types of mold and mildew linked to numerous conditions. And don't forget the fact that 6 million Americans live with pets they're allergic to as well. When I began to research these statistics, it was clear to me it was time to start cleansing my lungs in order to combat the toxic environment that we cannot escape but that we can fight back against. Made with organic and wild cultivated herbs and manufactured in the USA, the new InfoWars Life Lung Cleanse is here in a convenient spray bottle that can be brought with you throughout any toxic environment. Now available exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.
And stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.
The Alex Jones Show. Because there is a war on for your mind.
Back in 2004, already 10 years ago, David Rockefeller wrote Memoirs. And in it, he admits the whole plan for a private corporate planetary government. On page 244, we'll put the quote up on screen. He admits that there is a plan to create a world government. He also praised, when Mao Zedong died in the 70s, how wonderful Mao Zedong was in communism. Some even believe we're part of a secret cabal working against the best interest of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I am proud of it. The issue is they want to give us less for more, and they're exempt. The New World Order means you can't have a car or air conditioning, and they're going to suppress new technology that's clean. That's what Obama told Africans. These are horrible people that have a very anti-human mission and who openly say across the board that it's the end of humanity as we know it, and it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to merge with machines, and that's just the way it is. In fact, we sell the book that's already a bestseller, Daniel Eslin's new book that breaks all of this down, Trans Evolution, The Age of Human Deconstruction, at InfoWarsStore.com. You should get it and support him and support us. And he uses, basically their own admissions in here to break down the plan. And this is foregone conclusion in their writings. I talk a lot about eco-science, written in '74 by the White House science czar, John P. Holdren, along with Paul R. Ehrlich. They talk about that in there, but now they're doing it. I mean, it's their world. They have steered Western genius to build the internet, but to make it all a control grid. They have woven together all the different corporate systems to build the ultimate team to bring this in so that they and their progeny gained the golden fields where mortals become immortal of Elysium. Now, again, I'm not quoting from the new movie Elysium. I'm quoting from what Elysium is in Greek culture and in Greek religion, ancient Greek religion. The globalists follow Plato. They believe that they are ascending. And I want you to talk about their real agenda, Daniel, and if you agree with what I just said. And is there any way to stop these people at this time? Because their agenda is behind schedule in some ways.
It's a very interesting point. I was listening to what you're saying, Alex. Before the break, you talked about the whole idea of countries, nation states, as opposed to this pan-global dictatorship, which is basically what they're creating. And they call it one world company limited, corporations with a lot more power than any government on the planet. And this goes back to 1968, to the Bilderberg meeting in Mont-Tremblant, Quebec, Canada, where George Ball, Undersecretary for Economic Affairs, with JFK and Lyndon Johnson, talked about this as one of the key discussion points at that conference almost 45 years ago, or more than 45 years ago. And today, that we're seeing their plans for this pan-world company limited, where corporations have a lot more power than sitting presidents or sitting prime ministers, is becoming reality. And it's a scary thing if you actually realize that they proposed this as an objective 45 years ago. Now, the whole point of national system, nation states, as opposed to the pan-world system, obviously has to do with the way they understand how money works. Now, the world today is run by monetary systems, not by national credit systems. And if you're smart, you don't want a monetary system to run the world. You want a sovereign nation state to have their own credit system, which is the system of their currency. Above all, it's the possibility of productive, non-inflationary credit created by the state, which is firmly stated in the United States Constitution, and needless to say, it was excluded by the Maastricht Treaty as a method of determining of economic and financial policy. Now, in Europe, this cannot be done because in Europe, governments are subject to control by private banking interests called independent banking systems. And these institutions have the power to regulate governments and to dictate terms to governments. And you think about, this institution within the European edifice called the European Central Bank. Well, it tries to function like European Independent Central Bank, which has no government. There's no government. There's no nation. It's a group of nations run by a private bank. And it's insanity to belong to this group, which is something that a lot of people, millions of people, tens of millions of people across Europe are beginning to realize. It is insane to belong to the European Union. It is insane to belong to anything other than nation states. This supposed independence of the central bank is the decisive control mechanism for private financial interests, which historically in Europe have been installed as an authoritative instrument against an economic policy of sovereign governments oriented towards the general welfare. And, European banking, it's a remnant of a feudal society in which private interests, as typified by the ancient Venetian cartels, I've talked about this before, Venetian black nobility of the Lombard League, which went down in the Dark Age in the 14th century. And this is something that these people have tried to resuscitate so many times over. And again, they're destroying or trying to destroy every nation state in the world, countries, and create this pan-world economic order, which they want to call World Company Limited, at the expense of nation states, at the expense of independent countries and peoples of nations.
Daniel, obviously they didn't want this exposed, and there's famous quotes. We'll put one on screen of David Rockefeller thanking mainstream media at a Trilateral Commission meeting that's minutes were made public in 2004. We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promise of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world. See, it's their plan, and we're not in it, folks. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subject to the bright lights of publicity during those years. But the world is now much more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national auto-determination practice in past centuries. Trilateral Commission meeting address 1991. Again, it didn't come out till the mid-2000s. But the whole point is, these guys openly talk like this now. And my issue is, any elite that wants Common Core taught, where 2 + 2 = 5, is a very evil elite. I mean, they want us dumbed down. They want us in a neo-feudalistic area. And people need to know this is the big threat. So let me ask you this. I want you to comment on what I just said, and if you agree or disagree. But you said in 2007, 2006, we put it in a film in 2007, that they would implode in 2 years, the housing market and all the rest of this, and that indeed happened. And you had that from your source. I mean, they want to hurt people. They want to make us poor. I think people need to realize that they want us poor to control us. It's neo-feudalism, correct?
Absolutely, and you know, one of the things I was jotting down as we're in the last break is something else which I know they're going to be talking about, although I don't have it as an item, discussion item on the agenda, is, you know, the derivatives bubble. The global derivatives bubble today is 20% bigger than it was just before the last financial economic crash, which we suffered in 2008. And it's important because, as you said, you know, the whole thing of deindustrialization, zero growth, demand destruction, you need to destroy demand if you want to reduce the world's population. Progress and development is directly proportional to population density. So if we have progress, we have technological development, we can have more people. You need to have progress and development, especially the technology to support, you know, the 7 billion people we have on the planet today. If you don't have that, there's going to come a point where you're going to have a collapse and a breakdown in the population. And a great example of this deindustrialization today is Detroit. You know, this is what, you know, this is their a poster child for the entire world. So the fact is that a derivatives bubble today is bigger than it has ever been before, and it could explode at any point. I want to very quickly, if we have about a minute, to explain to people how this, you know, derivative bubble works and why it's being actually pushed by the elite to self-destruct.
Yes, sir. Please break it down. We have an article up on Infowars.com today by Zero Hedge, breaking down that it's reached an all-time mega high since 2008.
You know, once you make the decision to create a bubble, any bubble, basically it becomes a pyramid scheme. So you're going to really de-link the financial games from the real economy, which you have to do if you're killing the real economy. But you want to build up the speculative bubble, you have to, you know, divorce it from reality. And derivatives is a great way to do that. It's like creating a game casino table, and derivatives are side bets on the movements of various things like bonds, for example, the value of bonds, interest rates, currency rates. So you speculate on these things, and you can bet on how the speculation is going to go. So basically, you pile derivatives on top of derivatives on top of derivatives. And a good example of that is, of course, the mortgage market, which everyone is now very familiar with, and which had mortgages which were used, you know, to back derivatives, at least theoretically back them. But the notion value of derivatives, the dollar amount of the derivatives that were created, were much more than the value of the mortgages. So you use the mortgages as a fuel to fuel these derivative machines, which then leveraged it, we don't know how many times over. And then ultimately, this whole thing blew up completely, and, you know, this whole global system blew up, you know, blew out with it. And that was back in 2007. And as you said, we've talked about this in Ottawa when you were working on your documentary, when we met at the Bilderberg conference in Canada, Ottawa, in 2006. And needless to say, 2007, my words were prophetic. The whole thing just exploded, and needless to say, is going to explode again, because the idea is to destroy the world economy on purpose. And the people who think that that can't be the case, because needless to say, if they do that, the elite will suffer as well. They will not suffer. They already control the entire planet. What they need